This is crazy. So much stuff has happened across the last year since I've, last posted on this channel. So I kind of want to I want this to be an authentic video where I just kind of go over, what's been going on over the last year and a half and kind of the new directions of this channel, along with like some of the lessons that I've learned across this year, because shit's been crazy, I'm not gonna lie. So much stuff has been going on. And yeah, this is kind of going to be a bit of an introduction as well into some of the content that I'm going to end up posting on this page. But shit, it's been so long. I actually made a second channel. I started posting on it like 3 months ago. I've got 2 videos out. So I'm going to link it below if you're interested in, some of the ins and outs of what I've been doing across the last year. So check that out if you're interested. But, my kind of thought process, the reason I made this second channel is because I kind of thought, because, I'm going down a different direction, I'm no longer, posting fitness content. If you see on my page, 1 second, let me just, a little bit of adjustment. But yeah, if you look on the page, all of my content's been fitness content. I think it's been like almost 3 years now as well, since I last was posting, fitness content. So you can imagine so much shit has been going on. But yeah, that's the reason I created a second channel. I thought, because I'm redirecting, I'm getting more into, business, more into lifestyle sort of content, and just being a bit more educational in other areas of life, and just being able to, document and just create things freely. I just thought, you know what, I may as well just make a new channel. But the other day I was just thinking, I was like, you know what, there's going to be some OGs there. There's going to be some people that, followed my fitness content, and they're also going to be interested in some of the, new content that I'm going to, start posting on this channel. So I just thought, you know what, there's no point in me creating a new channel. I may as well just come back to this main channel, because obviously there's quite a correlation between people who are interested in fitness and also people who are interested in, business, other areas of life. So yeah, like I said, if you're interested in what's been going on, you can just check that out. You can kind of see some of the lifestyle stuff that's been going on over last year. But yeah, shit's been going crazy. Just to give some background I don't even know where to start, honestly, but just to give some background on, kind of what's been going on behind the scenes. I don't know if I mentioned it in the last video I posted on this 10 months ago. I don't think I did. But, after I stopped doing the fitness, channel, I ended up starting an influencer marketing agency. And for the first 7 months, we got absolutely nowhere with it. And, we just kept grinding, putting our head down. And I think that's 2024 was when, towards the end of the year, we started making, like an okay amount of money. Like we started making a decent amount of money. And for a lot of people, it's, quite a lot of money. We ended up making in our peak month that year about like 35K, I think. And that's was like 35K GBP. So that's about like 50K USD. And things started to go well. Things started to go well in that aspect. And, going into 2025, there was some complacency there. We got a bit comfortable. And that's one of the, first key lessons that I kind of want to get into with, the last year is, I finally got to kind of see, and experience that aspect of, when you get that first bit of success, getting that complacency, getting comfortable. And, it really showed. It showed in our business. Our agency wasn't doing as much numbers. I visited over 10 countries last year. And there was so much experience and so much lessons that I learned from last year, even more than the year where we actually ended up making the money. Because although our business was, at such a kind of a little bit of a fucked state, there was so many other key areas of life and lessons which I had to learn in order for me to, be at the point that I'm at now. So yeah, it's been pretty insane from that standpoint. And I guess that's the thing, when you travel to all these different countries, there's so much experience that you can gain, other than just, staying in your room. And that's why I advise people to actually go out there, experience some of the stuff that's out there, because you'll get so much insight into just the world. You'll create new perspectives in your mind, and yeah, you'll just learn so much from it. But yeah, and all of that traveling, kind of, one of the key things that I took away from that is, the connection with God. I think that was pretty much the key thing that I kind of got from last year, was being able to connect with God on a level which I haven't before, After having all of that experience, it just kind of, for one, it brought me closer to God, but also, it just made me feel inclined to have a better understanding of, how the world works, and based on a lot of the experience that I had and the complacency and stuff like that, it brought a new purpose, it brought a new light. So yeah, there was honestly so much mental perspectives that changed. I realized certain limiting beliefs that was, stopping me from getting to that next point. And that also links to kind of another thing which I learned, which was, sticking to basics and not getting carried away is such a key part of, the success. I think during that year where we kind of popped off, there was, it was just so simple. Like I had my routine. I didn't try and do anything crazy. I was just so locked in and focused. And I think during 2025, I was trying so much to, I was switching up my routines. I was changing so many different locations, and it caused such a lack of consistency. So I think just understanding that the fundamental things when it comes to, working on your business, working on different projects is such an important, part. And yeah, there was just so many distractions last year that just ruins a lot of consistency. And I guess that's the thing. And for anyone out there who's kind of, in that initial stages where they're, working on certain projects, you're trying to get some financial success, that's one of the things that you need to be wary of. Is, as you start earning more money, you can feel that kind of comfortability coming. You're not worried about certain things as much anymore. And yeah, it can cause so much complacency, and that's the biggest thing. When you have that kind of financial freedom, that location freedom, all of those vices, all of those distractions, they suddenly become a lot brighter. The cake looks sweeter. These sort of things kind of come into play when you begin getting that success, and you just have to remember your core purpose, what you're trying to achieve out of life. That's one of the key things which clearly showed during the last year. And it's just realizing that everything is completely internal as well. I don't want to be, rambling on a bit too much, but this is just like, this isn't overly scripted or anything. I'm just kind of going with the flow, making it, authentic. But it's just crazy because your internal state materializes in the external. I think such a large percentage of all the success you achieve is all internal. It's all the beliefs that you have. It's the way that you see the world. And you can create your own reality based on, your own perspectives and the way that you think. It's always people's brain that's limiting them. It's never external. It's the people that just blame external things that don't get far. If you look at every scenario and you just think, okay, yeah, this is my fault. I've got this limiting belief. This is the reason I'm not doing X. This is the reason why I'm not, scaling this up. This is the reason I'm not making more. This is the reason why, I can't get in shape. Whatever it is, it's all internal. And so when you can figure that out, that's what's going to get you to that next point. It's crazy. It's been such a crazy year. It's been such a crazy year, but I guess that's just how it is navigating through life when you're trying to, you know, succeed. There'll be certain points where things do dip. And I guess that's kind of the problem with a lot of the stuff you'll see on social media with people who are living, you know, successful lives. It's kind of, they portray it as, you know, they had this magical moment and then suddenly started working hard and then everything just turned out great. But the truth of it is that there will be ups and downs. And I know that sounds completely obvious, but I don't just mean in terms of like, you know, your business success, but even in terms of, you know, there'll be certain lessons that you need to learn and there's certain things that you need to go through in order to, you know, learn those lessons. Because, you know, there's so much mental blocks, there's so many certain things which you need to figure out for yourself. You know, it's not just from all the stuff that happens externally. A lot of it, you know, core beliefs. I think my mic just disconnected. Oh shit. Yeah, I'm back. Ran out of battery, so I just had to quickly charge it. But yeah, just to summarize what I was saying, I guess kind of the core message that I've kind of, you know, I want to portray to you, based on, you know, the experience that I've had is, you know, aside from just, you know, locking yourself in and training and working, make sure to just go out there and experience shit at the same time. You know, do things which seem scary at the time. Just try and take risks with certain things because you'll learn so much, especially at a young age. These are the key times where you need to be, you know, trying different things. You know, just trying things and which are, you know, hard for you because those are the things which, you know, help you grow. And I guess that's one of the most important things when you are young. So, you know, aside from just, you know, locking yourself in a box in your room and just, you know, locking in, working, whatever it is, training, just make sure to, you know, go outside, meet new people, because those are the type of things which actually get you to the next level, get you, you know, learning shit. Because over that year, I've never had so many, you know, lessons learned. I've never had so much experience in comparison to any other year. So I definitely advise people to do that. That's kind of what I take from it. But yeah, as far as everything is now and kind of my direction for this channel, you know, I want to, you know, start creating stuff. You know, I want to be able to work on my own projects, work on my own product. And that's kind of, you know, what I'm most passionate about. I think with the agency now, you know, I've kind of, you know, we've both gotten to the point, me and my co-founder, where, you know, we see people building cool products. And when we both think about, you know, the timeline 5-10 years ahead, I want to be in that spot where, you know, I'm creating my own stuff. I want to, you know, I'm quite a creative person, so I want to be able to use that skill. I think with the agency, it's definitely a good model. It's you know, it's the model which, you know, I managed to get, you know, my first success financially. But, you know, I feel like there's more. It's not really something where, you know, it's not something where I want to do long term. And I feel like with whatever it is that you want to do, you know, you have to have the hunger to wake up. And I guess, you know, now we're currently working on a few projects. Like I mentioned before, you can also check the second channel. There's a few lifestyle vids there where you can kind of see some of the projects that we're working on a few months back or over the summer. But right now we have this new product, where we have this new project that we're working on, this iOS app. And, you know, I can just feel a sense of, you know, hunger, motivation. Typically, you know, you'll see a lot of people talking about, okay, yeah, you know, once you get, you know, certain points of success, you know, try and stick with it, you know, because, you know, you need to stick with specifically what it is that's you know, doing well for you. But I feel like that's where you get stuck. I feel like so many people are limited by, you know, they feel trapped. I think even with the YouTube, there were so many people saying like, oh, why did you stop doing that? Because, you know, you got 200k views on one video. You know, you were popping off, you only posted a few videos, etc. But I just felt like longer term, it wasn't something which I wanted to do. And I think if you have that self-belief and you have that faith, you can pretty much achieve anything, no matter what it is that, you know, you do. And obviously we transitioned into the agency and it took a while, but it ended up working out. And I guess that's kind of, the key thing that I've learned with myself is, it's not worth you, from externally, people will be like, oh yeah, you're successful, you're doing this. But if you don't truly enjoy what you do, then to me, there's no point. Part of building a business, working on projects, doing what you want to do is enjoying that, that stage where, you're not making any money from it, you're not successful. But at the end of the day, I want to just enjoy that whole process. I want to be able to create, I want to be able to, influence the world in a positive light. And, I take so much inspiration from people who, they're not stuck in a certain bubble. They're fixated they're kind of categorized in different things. And obviously when you're starting out, I mean, like, don't get that mixed up with, focusing on your one thing. That's 100% essential in a sense. But I guess in terms of working on projects at different stages in your life, a lot of people just stick into their one zone, but I kind of want to be that person to create, be out there, and just kind of inspire with different things. And that's kind of my aim, like, longer term. I want to be able to build my own products. I want to have my own brand and kind of harness that creative nature that I naturally have. And the agency just wasn't cutting it. And that's why, like I mentioned, we're working on this app project, which we're both really passionate about. We've got, ideas. We're constantly hopping on calls, and it's just been, it's starting off the year positively. There's so much stuff to work on, and that's why I'm so excited this year, because from all those lessons I've learned, I can now just really focus and hone down, and that's kind of my aim. I don't want to spend time getting distracted, and I understand what it takes to win in the long term. And yeah, there's so much more to learn, but yeah, there's a lot more to come. In terms of this channel, like I mentioned before, it's like I want to be able to express kind of, what I'm doing lifestyle-wise, but also, a lot of the lessons that I learn, I want to be able to educate people who are, maybe like a few years behind me. If I can help my younger version of myself, that was starting out 2 years ago or whatever, that's what, motivates me. That's what, I look at other people and it inspires me, and I want to just be able to give out that same message and do exactly the same with whatever it is that I'm doing. So that's why I kind of want this channel to be, documenting, how I'm building how we're both building these projects, with my co-founder, and, some educational stuff as well. Yeah, that's kind of the aim. And longer term, I just want to, I want this whole channel to just be a reflection of each phase of life, each thing that I'm focusing on, each thing that I'm working on. And I want people to, look back on the old videos and feel inspired by it, and show the, the true, authentic kind of journey that it is. Because a lot of people, fabricate things nowadays. A lot of people just want to show the success, but it's like, how are you going to, inspire people from doing that, There's so many people nowadays that are kind of showing that lifestyle, and I get the motivational part of that as well. But because there's so much of that side, I want to show a bit of, that the ins and outs and what it's really like. Because it would have helped myself, if I could see a page like this, then I would have found it, beneficial. But yeah, I guess if somehow you're watching some of my past fitness content and you've made it this far, but you're not interested, then honestly, unsubscribe. I don't really mind. Do you know what I mean? Like, I wanna kind of have an engaged audience. Of course, I've got all of the subscribers and engagement that I've gotten in the past from this channel have been all linked to my fitness stuff. And if that's all you care about, I mean, those people probably wouldn't have made it this far. But if you have made it this far anyway, then yeah, if that's something you're not interested in, then sure, you can unsubscribe. But if it is something you're interested in, or if you're new here, then yeah, just follow through for a bit. Just see if you feel something from my content, if you benefit from my content, and if not, then you can unsubscribe. I'm completely fine with that, because I want to build an authentic audience that's documenting and has the same interests as me. But yeah, if there's any OGs from some of the old videos, just comment below so I know you're an OG. Because there's probably only like a few people who are probably interested, in the same kind of content that I'm going to be posting, the same interest, business, and just generally just improving everything. So, yeah, if you're interested, make sure to follow along. There's a lot to come. I'm very excited for this new chapter. I'm very excited for this new chapter. But yeah, it's going to be crazy. It's going to be crazy. But yeah, if you enjoy this, you made it this far, just make sure to comment below so I know who's made it to the end. So I know who the real ones are in this community.